Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Continuing the work on the Alpha 1 GTO, Sam and Doug start on the rear differential. After the engine upgrade, the differential needs to be beefed up to handle the additional power. When they're finished, the GTO will no longer be one wheel peel because this rear end is getting equipped with a limited slip differential.
Well, we're back for the second half of the season with our GTO project, and it's been painted completely Ferrari red by Buddy at State Collision Center. What do you think about the work?
This is absolutely fantastic. The depth of the paint, it absolutely pops, Sam. He just did a fantastic job.
Good, I'm glad you're happy with it. What we're going to do this go around is the rear end. The differential needs to be completely changed out. There's one that's bigger, and we're going to change out the LSD inside that factory 200 to make it handle the race course better.
Absolutely, yeah. What we really want to do is to make sure it's going to take all that power, because we're putting a lot more power, a lot more torque into that rear end. We've got to beef everything up, or we're going to just blow that pumpkin apart.
Absolutely, and the good thing is that when we go back to reinstall the new differential, we're going to go back with all billet aluminum bracketry and bracing, so it's going to make it a lot stiffer in the rear end.
And that's real important, especially as we start to lay this thing through the turns. We've got to make sure we have the rigidity. Otherwise, if that suspension starts to move around, it's really tough to dial a car in.
Absolutely. First, what we're going to do is remove everything on the rear end, and take the differential out, then we're going to reassemble the new differential and put everything back in.
Be smarter as you do it. Okay, what Sam did there is he made sure the lift is on its locks. You've got the hydraulic cylinders that raise it up, but if you drop it down, it'll go ahead an area where it's mechanically locked out, so nothing can go ahead and start to drop down on you. It's a real important item to make sure you do. We can try to go ahead and hold it, but if anything were to go wrong, it's a long way down, we can smash our feet. It's easy. We've got a transmission jack. We go ahead and pump it into position. We'll use a chain to go ahead and lock it in, loosen the bolts, it drops down real easy. You always want to think on doing something like, don't muscle it, use your brain as you go through it.
Okay, now that we got the differential exposed, we're going to remove the two end caps that are holding the differential into the housing, and there is a left and a right, so it's very important that you guys orient this correctly. When you remove them, put the right on the right side of your bench, put the left on the left side of your bench so that you know where they go back, because if you mess that up, you're going to need a new differential.
These bearings are really, really impossible to get, so we're going to be reusing them. Make sure you take a look at the race itself, that it hasn't been sitting for a long time. Because if it's been sitting for a long time, what you can do is you can get what they call spalding, where it goes ahead and it starts to leave marks, and it can create a problem inside of the needle bearings.
So the aftermarket differential has multiple holes in it. One set being smaller, it's going to be a 10 millimeter size. The other one is going to be a 12 millimeter size hole. That's just in case you guys went with an aftermarket ring gear. You can use the bigger holes. In our case, we're going to be using the OEM ring gear. It's very important to use the right hole, because as you can see here, we have play. Even though you're torqued down and tight, that ring gear can move within that space. So you want to put it in the hole where there is zero movement. Now that I got the ring gear in place on my differential, it is time for me to repress on the bearings on both sides of the housing so that we can go ahead and reinstall it inside the pumpkin. While I do that, I'm going to have Doug finish cleaning off the face of the pumpkin and the differential cover so that we can glue everything back together. I'm using as a plastic abrasive tool on my die grinder. It's going to give before material gets removed on the cover itself. So that's what we're doing, is removing it with something like this, non-abrasive, so you do not remove material, so therefore your gasket material will actually seal. The differential is ready to go back together again. I did put RTV glue on the cover. It's going to sit for 20 minutes before we put it onto the pumpkin.
Sam, another part of the build complete.
Absolutely, and we didn't have to weld up that differential. There is nothing better than doing an LSD upgrade on your car. It's really going to make your corner a lot better.
That was fantastic. Everything went together just wonderful.